Welcome back to Animals in the Lab. Today we are going to be talking about one of the biggest debates in science, animal testing. Now, I know hearing those words can change a lot of opinions. For some people, it's about hurting or mistreating animals in labs, and for others, it's about saving people's lives because of research that has been done for medicines or treatments. Animal testing is important for science and medicine, but not always in the way we think it is. So, let's take a better look at both sides of this debate. We will start by talking about the benefits of animal testing and why people support it. Then we will move on and talk about the negative side to it and why people are against it. So, let's get started. One of the main things to understand about this is why people think animal testing is necessary. So, one of the first things we should know is that people who support animal testing don't necessarily want the animals to suffer, but they understand it can be necessary for saving people's lives. For many years, animal testing has played a very important role in science. It can help save human lives and help find new medicines that alternatives are not able to do. Scientists have also done research and seen that there are some animals that share biological similarities with us, which is why animals can be so helpful in science. In the article, Current Global Vaccine and Drug Efforts Against COVID-19, Pros and Cons of Bypassing Animal Trials, Cameron states, ferrets are model organisms for influenza virus and have similar lung morphology as humans and can actually cough and sneeze, supporting their use as animal models for SARS-CoV-2. End quote. Isn't it just amazing how there are animals in the world that can biologically relate so much to humans? Well, I think it is. Those of us who support animal testing would most likely agree that when animal testing is done, they are very well taken care of while still following ethical rules. Many researchers would also argue that most places follow strict rules to make sure the animals are protected and not suffering. I think most of us who also believe animal testing is necessary would understand that scientists would have an easier time discovering new things on living organisms than they ever would on non-living organisms. The scientists might argue that doing research on animals can help prevent an even bigger harm by making sure dangerous treatments aren't used on humans first. Now, it's not that people think animals' lives are less important than human lives, but they see it as a way of making things safer, which brings us right into the next idea. You might be wondering, how is animal testing safe for humans? Let's talk about it. One of the very important reasons that scientists use animals for testing is because it can help prevent harmful substances from getting to humans first. Think about it this way. When a new medicine is created, there's no one that truly knows how it's going to work when it's inside of a living body. Yeah, it might work great in a computer model, but a living organism is so much more complicated than that. I had interviewed Katie Johnson, who is a vivarium director and attending veterinarian here at Boise State. Katie does research on animals, so I was able to hear some great things about how animal testing can be beneficial and help save the lives of humans. I had asked Katie if there are specific times where animal testing has saved human lives. Here, Katie will discuss how animal testing can be helpful to saving human lives.
I think looking at the system, a biological system as a whole can be beneficial for what may be applicable in a human. My own area of research is actually looking at how housing temperature may make mice into even more translatable models for human medication types of research. So I believe if we house mice at a warmer temperature, the discoveries that we make will be even more relevant to human cures and discoveries.
So, you may think, oh, animal testing is dangerous? But really, without these living animals and organisms, scientists might not even be able to predict how our bodies could respond to drugs in a safe way. Now, I know a lot of you are probably pretty excited to hear that there are alternatives to animal testing, and yes, they are great. There are things like computer models and organ-on-a-chip technology that can help with science without using animals. Here's the thing though, these alternatives cannot take over animal testing. When I interviewed Katie, I was curious to know if animal testing would always be necessary or if it could eventually be fully replaced. In the interview, Katie talks about there being so much that goes on in the human body. And yeah, computers can be similar, but they can't completely replicate a whole living organism and its response to a disease or drug. Here, Katie will talk about why animal testing will most likely always be necessary.
I think some level of animal research will still be needed to grow our knowledge base in science. I I think there are ways to minimize that use, especially as some other new technologies are developed. So there's this large push right now within science to start using something called organoids. I don't know if you've come across them in your searching. So there are now ways to create basically a collection of cells that can replicate our organs in our body. They're still at the very new phases of being developed, but I can see some of these other new models replacing some of the use of animals, but nothing will be able to create the complexity of an entire creature.
So, I know some of these new technologies are so amazing and a big step moving forward because they are reducing animal testing, but they are not a complete replacement. If you think about it, it's kind of like learning to drive a car. You can learn a lot from the internet or your parents, but eventually you need to experience the real thing to actually be completely prepared. So, even though there is progress in technology that continues to help with alternatives, animal testing still plays an important role to help make sure treatments work safely for people. However, not everyone agrees with that side, and even though there are benefits that animal testing has brought to science and medicine, many people argue that the suffering of animals just can't be justified. A lot of people, even if animal testing has helped save the lives of humans or helped with medicine, feel it still causes a lot of questions. How can it be fair to cause pain or suffering to animals just to help save a human? Now, let's take a look at the other side of this topic to understand the arguments that are against animal testing. First, I think we should take a look at the ethical concern. So, when we talk about animal testing, it can be easy to focus on the science part of it, like the medicines or cosmetics, but there's another side to that, which is the ethical side. One of the biggest things is that many people believe it is wrong to put animals through suffering or pain to benefit a human. Animals that are used in research can experience stress just like us humans do. So why would we want to put animals through that if we wouldn't do that to people? Most of these animals are probably stuck in cages and will never get the chance to just be an animal living in the outdoors and doing whatever they want. And here's the thing, animals can't talk, they can't say yes or no to something being done to them. So when you think about it like that, it really makes you think on the idea of whether or not it's right to use them to benefit ourselves, especially when scientists don't even know if the outcome will work. There is also this idea of animals being tested for cosmetics, like I had mentioned earlier, and a lot of people would agree that using animals to test makeup or beauty products is evil and unnecessary. I mean, these products are meant to make us look nice or smell good, not save someone's life. This clearly feels wrong. Animals are suffering from something that us humans don't even need in our everyday lives. Well, here's the good news. There are alternatives that don't even involve animals at all. I interviewed Cassidy Scatina, who is a veterinarian, and she loves animals. So why would she want to see them get used in testing? Well, we had talked about alternatives for animal testing and how it truly is amazing the way technology works. Here, Cassidy will give us some more information on how technology has been helpful in science.
It's amazing how much technology in our world is advancing. For instance, in veterinary medicine, there's even AI components that have been implemented that there's no way this would even have been a thing 10, 20 years ago. We're able to diagnose lameness now using an app on our phone and horses, and that's crazy in itself.
I think that really goes back to what I've been saying, because we don't have to rely on older and harmful methods anymore. With all the new technology that is still very helpful in finding some of the same exact results that would also show up in animal testing. I understand. Alternatives can sound kind of scary, as they may not work as well, but there are so many rules that have to be followed in order to see if things actually work or don't in all different kinds of testing. In the article, Advancing Alternative Methods to Reduce Animal Testing, Nelson states, there are several key steps in the development of an NAM for FDA regulatory use. 1. A description of the context of use. 2. The description of the criteria of success for the NAM. 3. An experimental plan for the demonstration of appropriateness of the NAM. And 4. Collection of data to support the qualification and/or validation for the proposed context of use. End quote. With that being said, there are so many regulations before researchers can try new alternatives, and these rules can often lead to safer experiments and even lead scientists to find stronger and better testing results. Now, let's talk about another main concern that people have when it comes to this topic, which is that animals aren't humans, so their bodies can react way differently than ours can and cause false results. In the article Assessing Safety Without Animal Testing, The Road Ahead, Daston states, there are important limitations to animal testing. Although the mechanisms of action of toxicants are largely equivalent between human and lab animal models, there are differences in pharmacokinetics, metabolism, and pharmacodynamics, such as the concordance between human and lab animal results is not perfect, and there are ethical issues with continuing use of animals when alternatives are available. End quote. So, what I'm saying is sometimes the results of animal testing aren't always going to work perfectly on humans. There is this worry that animal testing can possibly lead scientists in the wrong directions, and then it gets you thinking on an even bigger question. Was the testing even worth it? Yeah, maybe it's a part of the process, but that really makes people question the harm that it's done to animals. So, at the end of the day, animal testing can give scientists an idea on a result, but it's never perfect. All that testing can cause so much time wasted and even suffering for both animals and humans. Overall, animal testing can be a tricky topic, and there's definitely a debate on it. One is the positive side of animal testing, which has helped scientists find new medicines and treatments that save the lives of humans. But on the negative side, the animals can get hurt or mistreated, sometimes results aren't accurate in the humans, and there are alternatives, so why keep using animal testing? The truth is, the answer isn't easy. Scientists every day are trying to find new ways of moving forward, and that's where alternatives come in. There is a bunch of technology to help replace some animal testing now and in the future. After doing research and learning more about animal testing, I personally believe that animal testing is something that does and will always need to be done. I do understand that it can be scary for the animals, and they obviously don't have a say in it, but I also realize that it can be so much easier for scientists to do testing and research on something that is living rather than not living. So, at the end of the day, it's not a very easy topic, and there really is no specific answers, but having these conversations and learning about animal testing can help scientists move forward in the future and do what's better for both animals and humans. If you would like to learn more on both sides of this topic, go to www.animalsinthelab.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope this really gives you something to think about the next time you read or hear the words animal testing.